Now, very first story, how to use a 3.15 million Ghana cedi compensation paid Newmont Ghana for spilling cyanide has become the bone of contention between some residents of Ntotroso, Kenyase No. 1 and 2, and the DCE and chiefs. The DCE for Stiffy North, Eric Adai, and the chiefs of the communities want to use 70% of the money to build a market in a lorry park at Kenyase and the rest on a hospital. But the community members disagree and have petitioned the president to intervene in the matter and get more funds devoted to the hospital.
The compensation was awarded in Totroso, Kenyase No. 1 and 2, all in the Sutifi North district in the Bonahafo region, after it was established that cyanide had been spilled from the plant site of the Ahafo mine of Newmont Ghana Gold Limited into River Yache and its tributaries in October 2009. Of the 7 million Ghana cedi penalty slapped on Newmont, the Environmental Protection Agency received 2.8 million Ghana cedis, while the Inspectorate Division of the Minerals Commission took 1.05 million. The affected communities' share of 3.15 million Ghana cedis meant to compensate them for the destruction of the fish stock in the Yache River and its tributaries, and the pollution of their source of drinking water has however not been utilized since it was paid in 2012 due to a disagreement over what the money should be used for. The community members want the 70% earmarked for the market project to be rather channeled into upgrading a health center at Kenyase No. 1 to the status of a district hospital, because they think the hospital will serve them far better than a market and a lorry station. Abdallah Salifu is the spokesperson for the communities.
The decision taken by the above-mentioned people was to use 70% of the money to upgrade Kenyase market and lorry park, and 30% to construct hospital in Kenyase. This decision taken above is against the wish of the majority of the community members, who are also proposing that 90% of the amount should go into the construction of hospital at Kenyase, whilst 10% go into the upgrading of the market and the lorry park.
He further explains why they prefer the hospital to the market and lorry park.
We are prioritizing the need of the hospital because of the following reasons. 1. Population in Kenyase, population in the 3 communities, as mentioned above, has increased and has resulted in pressure on the only existing Kenyase Health Center. 2. Also, Kenyase No. 1, Kenyase No. 2 and Ntotroso are now mining communities which require hospitals to meet the challenges that emanate from mining activities. In addition to that fact, 3. Kenyase and its nearby communities has become a district without a hospital.
A committee member for the disbursement of the compensation, Edusa Yakubu, explains how they have been sidelined by the DCE for the area, Eric Adai.
Decision say 70% enkoye market na 30 enkoye hospital. Na yen so ayekogina community na nan no so kire say community ne so omo pe hospital.
The district police commander had foiled an earlier attempt by the communities to demonstrate against the DCE's choice of projects to be funded by the Newmont compensation. Nesta Kafiajuma's report for Joynews.
Now, experts are predicting further gloom for the country's water resources if radical steps are not taken to protect them. Currently classified as water stress, experts project the country will experience a decline in the population's access to water in the years ahead if the destruction of water bodies continue.
Rural communities who depend on rivers and streams tend to suffer when they lose their water sources to destructive human activities such as galamsey and sand winning. A typical community is Kwashikuma in the Ga-West district of the Greater Accra region. The Doblo stream flows from Ajen Kotoku through Doblo Gono to Kwashikuma and neighboring communities. The Doblo stream, I'm told, used to be full and overflows during the rainy season, but it doesn't seem to be the case now. The volume has reduced, it is stagnant and dirty. Users have attributed the current state of the stream to human activities such as sand winning. Residents of Kwashikuma used to depend heavily on the stream for various daily chores, including drinking. They now mostly use it for laundering.
Pipe na use from suni dia senti and use biom. And no be pon na midi yen kwan.
Oh, okay. Now, formuns you know first on it saying, and as I say, I saying.
Any monetary at me, dear Bibia, Manin years, as I said, dear, and Mona, I say, into me financially. Baby, I feel so almost sit down. Over
the past 50 years, population growth has not been proportionate to water availability. According to FAO statistics, 110 barrels of water a day was available to each of the 6.5 million people living in Ghana in 1960. But as at 2013, only 48 barrels a day was available to each of the 25 million people. This shows a significant decline in water access of about 60% within 53 years. Experts project the situation will worsen by 2050 when the population is expected to hit 40 million. The Water Resources Commission is, however, challenging claims that Ghana is water stressed.
We have quite a lot of water, about 54 billion cubic meters of water annually. We are not water stressed. We have what we call economic water scarcity. You know, domestic water supply depends on a lot of investment, and we do not have enough investment to pipe water to everybody's home.
According to the Commission, water quality has rather deteriorated due to destructive human activities. At Glefe, a suburb of Accra, for instance, residents are filling a lagoon with sand to enable them build houses. The lagoon is now known as Dead Lagoon since it can no longer support marine life. But all is not lost. Dead rivers and lagoons can be brought back to life.
The waters can be revived if human beings decide to change their habits. Naturally, most water bodies are renewable because the source of the water bodies is the rains. So if it tends to be polluted with a new set of rainfall, all the old and the bad water moves down to the coast and you have fresh water replacing it. So the water bodies by themselves have a natural capacity to absorb pollution. But beyond a certain degree, the water can no longer absorb the pollution that is going on. And when it happens that way, the river dies.
The Volta River, together with River Pra, Ayensu, Dainsu, Ofen, and several other lakes and streams, means the country is well endowed with water resources. However, human attitudinal change is key to renewing water bodies. Experts have also charged authorities to properly protect and manage water resources in order to prevent a looming water crisis.
Now, as Ghana joins the world to mark World Kidney Diseases Day, health authorities in the central region say there is an alarming surge in kidney ailments. Hundreds of people, including teenagers, are said to be dying due to the malfunctioning of their kidneys. The youth especially are being warned to be wary of their lifestyles.
At the Renal Center, the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, the second largest renal center in the country, dozens of people who are aware of their status visit the center at least 3 times a week to be dialyzed. A patient who is put on the dialysis spends not less than 600 Ghana cedis a week, whilst they mobilize the tens of thousands needed for a kidney surgery. According to medical experts, every year, thousands of Ghanaians die prematurely of complications related to chronic kidney diseases. Doctors describe the prevalence of kidney diseases in the country as alarming and the cost of treating the growing epidemic as a huge burden on healthcare systems and families in Ghana. The head of the dialysis unit at the Cape Coast Teaching Hospital, Irene Alote Jacob, is extremely worried about the increase in kidney diseases and wants the general public to be worried about their lifestyles.
You know, most of them, exuberant. They go out there and whatever they need, they take them. They sit out there, the junk foods, they take them all in. Then apart from that, medications, this one would help me to perform better in bed. This one help me, you know. So they go in for such medications and lots of them have their effects too. Remember, every drug has its side effect. And sometimes it goes to affect your kidney. Some of them are nephrotoxic. They wouldn't tell you, especially the Chinese drugs they've been peddling all around us. So please, let our youth be careful.
As there is no treatment for chronic kidney diseases apart from dialysis and transplant, medical officials say prevention and early detection to delay severe kidney failure are key to maintaining kidney functions.
Star Ghana is asking all civil society organizations in the health sector to adopt long-term methods in promoting quality healthcare delivery. The CSOs, whose activities target mostly rural areas in the country, educate and assist people with their health needs. But with the seeming perennial challenges confronting the health sector, some of them are having to come up with innovative ways of going about their work. A report by Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin.
At a health convention to learn and share knowledge targeted at strengthening leakages and collaborations among civil society organizations for increased access to quality health service, Star Ghana aims to accelerate MDG 4 and 5 interventions and improve quality health care. The health convention would seek to explore mechanism for continued support to health sector grant partners after the end of the Star Ghana program in 2015.
Quite a number of the problems and challenges that they are trying to address have sometimes been around for quite a long time. When we talk about maternal mortality, we talk about childhood mortality, there are a number of health-related challenges that have been with us for quite a long time. And there have been successful approaches in which they have been dealt with in the past. However, once the challenges remain, it suggests that we have to keep on coming up with different ways in which we try and tackle the challenges. And that's what innovation is all about.
Star Ghana affiliates other foreign agencies to promote effective delivery of both public and private goods and service. It is funding over 30 civil society organizations in the country.
Still on health, stakeholders are pushing for a pricing policy for medicines produced and imported into the country. Such a policy, they believe, would help the prevalence of fake and substandard drugs currently available on the market.
One of the major challenges facing healthcare delivery is the issue of substandard and fake drugs. Though efforts are being made to fight the menace, the lack of pricing policy has been identified as a major factor contributing to the proliferation of substandard drugs in the country.
Where medicines are expensive, people go for cheaper alternatives or for cheaper ones, thinking that they work. As a country, we do not have a pricing policy for medicines. So medicines prices vary tremendously, and medicines in Ghana are extremely expensive. In fact, it takes a lot of money, sometimes a whole man's salary, just to buy life-saving medicines. So people resort to cheap ones. So the Ministry of Health and the government should do very well to have a very firm pricing policy, at least so that we know the recommended price limit or range, so that people are not ripped off. Currently, patients are at the mercy of everyone who sells medicine.
At a stakeholders forum to discuss improving access to medicines, participants called on government to reduce the tariffs on genuine drugs so ordinary Ghanaians can afford.
Does that mean that VAT has to go away? Maybe yes. Does that mean that there's a maximum markup that people have to give? Maybe yes. When we do all these things, we can hold people accountable, and then we tell the consumer, that don't buy paracetamol for more than 10 cedis or something along that line. Then the public is empowered. The suppliers or the sellers are aware that somebody is watching, and the government is then taking its responsible position that all governments must take.
They are also calling for the passage of the consumer bill into law. Though the Food and Drugs Authority notes there have been some progress in tackling the issue of substandard anti-malaria drugs from 36% in 2009 to 3% in 2013, it says it is procuring technology to detect on the spot substandard and fake drugs.
The Media Foundation for West Africa has raised concerns about what it describes as a declining journalism standards in Ghana. To remedy this situation, the foundation has launched a year-long ethics monitoring project to assess how practitioners are adhering to the ethics code.
The foundation says some media personnel continue to violate the principles despite the existence of the National Media Commission and the Ghana Journalists Association's Code of Ethics. Director of the School of Communication Studies, Professor Audrey Gajaku, criticized some media practitioners for aligning themselves with political parties. According to her, the profession has lost respect because journalists do not conduct themselves in accordance with the guided principles.
When we are irresponsible, what happens is that we undermine the public's confidence in us and they treat us like dirt. A journalist goes somewhere and they say they are journalists and there's no respect. Why isn't there respect? If a doctor appeared somewhere and says, I'm a doctor, there's respect. So we need to ask ourselves, why aren't we getting respect? And if we want respect, what do we have to do? Collectively, people feel there's a bit of a crisis of journalism because we don't reflect professionalism. However, people also recognize individual professionalism.
The foundation says the project will monitor adherence to the ethics as a means of promoting professionalism.
There will be monitoring of ethics on 40 media organizations, and at the same time, because we don't want to cow the media into submission, we don't want any form of self-censorship or docile journalism, we are going to also be providing funding to journalists to do very critical and enterprising work.
The foundation is urging media practitioners to exhibit the highest acceptable standards in the performance of their duties in order for the profession to gain the deserved respect. Journalists are also advised to exercise their press freedom responsibly.
The 2012 presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party is urging party sympathizers eager to know if he will again contest the flag bearership of the NPP to wait for his official announcement next week. Central Region executives of the NPP who were at his residence Thursday entreated him to make his intentions known. And Akufo-Addo, however, maintains he will make it known on March 20. Gifty Ando Apia has the rest of the story.
In terms of votes, inti sa seat and so na ewo de nana eno ne ye bo ho ban ansan ye si abontin akohwehwe bi e de aka ho.
The Central Regional executives were amongst a number of delegations who called on Nana Akufo-Addo Thursday morning. According to them, they had come to pay homage and to share concerns from their constituents, part of which was the quest to know before time whether or not he will contest.
Nampenfuso buwakaina achara loyade loride achara mede loyade loride nana chancha mayumi ya chienda eyumi ya chaya hoya encha yimo sanya so encha yumi mancheme yi kakra nana yabe nana yaba
In response, Nana Akufo-Addo urged them to hold on in unity so that the NPP can respond to what he described as calls by Ghanaians for the party to rule come 2016.
No, any say, and also the above 15 months, a bema saba, it should be a ding. Masha says, and pay for a wood year quaimo, many numbers of Bako, Ebo Amania, the media system. Namis Meti, the one that can. There's a young upon Peninsula, and then now watch it. Hey, me Baba to Jadia, me Mrs. me Pisa Maya, Ghana phones is one of the Peninsula. The secretary, she says now. And then now,
he debunked rumors about a deterioration in his health and his advanced age. Nana Akufo-Addo held similar interactions with NPP executives from the Western region and other groups. Gifty Andwapia, Joynews, Nima, Accra.
Meanwhile, MPP Chairman hopeful Paul Afoko has pledged to ensure that whoever is selected as the party's flag bearer for the 2016 elections wins the presidential election. Paul Afoko, whose candidature became doubtful over his alleged conviction, was cleared by the party executive after some investigations. He tells Joynews he has put the controversy behind him to work towards a new vision for the party.
Party executives vetting Paul Afoko put his approval on hold after they were petitioned that he should be disqualified because he was once convicted. He explains he saw the petition for the very first time yesterday.
All I have was a letter that they gave me yesterday, the vetting committee gave me yesterday to read. They told me that I've been saying that it was an anonymous thing. They want me to see who it was. And it just said David Jesse, UK, Ghana. That's all. No number, no name, no address. Whoever did this, whatever their motives, I leave them to their conscience and to God. I will just go on and do what I need to do, which is campaign hard.
Although he said he's not interested in pursuing an action to frustrate his ambitions, he suspects a deliberate attempt to slow down his campaign.
Looking at it dispassionately, and you are forced to that conclusion that somewhere somebody just wishes me ill. If not, why put such a trumped-up charge against me? And the petition I read yesterday was very clear. It was loaded with malice because the person even stated in that petition that I am open and boastful about my prison sentence.
Paul Afoko says he's bringing his resources and experience on board to marshal victory for the party.
The experience that I believe I have, that I have gathered over the years politically, personally, in my professional life, and also in my wearing my other hat of being a businessman. Putting all these together, I bring it to the party and help to reorganize this party. I bet you, even the strategic repositioning begins with my being elected chairman of the party. Once that happens, then the resources that the party needs to start working, the resources that traditionally we've always waited to be delivered to the party in a general election year, I will bring those resources this year so we can start working from now and repeat it next year and the election year so we can win power.
As for his position on whether or not the presidential candidate for the 2012 elections, Nana Akufo-Addo, would contest for the 2016 flag bearership, he said although he believes so, the choice is for Nana Akufo-Addo to make, and for him to support. Gifty Andopia, Joynews, Cantonment, Accra.
Now, rescue workers are still digging through rubble in the hope of finding more survivors in a building collapse at Niboy town here in Accra. The 6-story uncompleted structure collapsed early today, destroying other buildings in the vicinity. The rescuers managed to pull out one person, whilst one death has been confirmed. Matilda Womega has more.
The 6-story uncompleted structure, said to be an extension of the Grandview Hotel, is said to have collapsed around 4 a.m. Thursday.
We in Admo had the emergency call around 5 a.m. I got a call from Joy FM around 5:30, by which time our urban search and rescue teams, as 2 teams, are taking off to this scene. And then we send the emergency call to 48 Engineers Regiment, for the National Security. We dispatch emergency calls to the National Fire Service, the National Ambulance, who are collaborators in this matter of rescue. So the rescue teams from these agencies assembled here, and by, I suppose, 8 a.m., we have done some rescue of 2 persons who were trapped in the rubble. We lost 1 life. The other life is trying to seek recovery in the hospital. The doctors are working very hard on getting him resuscitated and brought back to life. For us, we're trying to do the movement of the debris. And you can see the kind of congestion we have where the building collapsed. I've been told that it's reached about the 5th or 6th floor for a building which initially was 3 floors. And when we go near from this, I'll show you the joints are weak. The iron rods are not properly woven. This concrete seems better than the Melcom building collapse concrete.
Residents nearby spoke of rumbling, which felt like a downpour. Fozia tells Joynews she was trapped in a home by the fallen debris.
So traumatic, so traumatic, because I thought I was dying of dust. The dust was so much.
How did you manage to get out? How did you manage to get out?
Well, they made the first experience from the other window. But because of the rails, the rails were so thick for them to break. So they had to use the other window, which they used meshy rails plus the net. So they tore the net and then broke the meshy rails, dismantled everything, and then one of them jumped in, took my daughter out, and then outsiders took the daughter, and then I also climbed on chairs in order to get on top of the cabinet. So when I got to the cabinet, they took.
Authorities spoke about the rescue efforts.
We did our assessment around the building just to make sure the place is safe, to give us the first-hand information. Now, after assessment, what we saw was somebody's hand. We got closer, tried to talk to the person. Because there was a break between we and the person, the communication was not flowing. So what we did was to dig further. So to create a space, we used some of our equipment to lift the slabs. After lifting, then we had access to the guy. We asked some few questions. That's where he told us that there are 2. One is just lying beside him. After bringing him out, we tried to work on the other guy. After retrieving him, we sat down to look at it again.
The Accra mayor, who was at the scene, said there have been attempts to stop the construction because there was no building permit.
It's also important to note, however, that the AMA have always been at work with respect to attempts to stop construction. This particular building, I believe, since 2000 acres was acquired in the year 1970. But since 2001, past mayors and other city authorities have made attempts to stop this particular development. As recently as 12 March 2013, 7th December 2013, and as recently as 26th February. The building inspectors have been at this job, getting this developer to stop developing. But all attempts have always fallen on deaf ears.
Local Government Minister Kwesi Oponfosu conceded there have been some failures on the part of authorities.
Well, as a country, yes, we still go back to law enforcement and the will to insist that people do not break the law. This land, as you rightly been informed, was acquired in the 70s. So where was everybody when the encroachment was going on, when people were building without building permits? It's failure on the part of regulatory bodies and some institutional failures, policy failures. It was a policy to acquire, then along the line we couldn't hold together. So for us as a country, it's not a blame game, but we need to insist that we abide by the law.
Though eyewitnesses believe all persons have been accounted for, authorities say they would continue to dig till they reach ground zero, explaining they can't leave anything to chance. Matilda Humaga for Joynews, Accra.
Well, the police have confirmed the arrest of the contractor in charge of the collapsed structure. The Tesano District Commander who confirmed the arrest to Joynews says the owner of the building is now being pursued.
The assessment we are making is that he is a contractor. He obviously is responsible for the construction of the building. So at any point in time, he should be certain in the fact that whatever it is they are putting up is of some standard. The people who are working in there have to work in an area which is safe. They have to work knowing that whatever part of the building they are in, that building is safe, you understand? So if all of these things have not materialized and unfortunately somebody has come in to work to construct your building and he has died, then it is obvious that somebody must be held responsible for it. And
in other news, the Human Rights Court has awarded compensation of 200,000 Ghana cedis to a man unlawfully remanded for 14 years without trial for his alleged involvement in an armed robbery. The landmark ruling is believed could send a signal to thousands of others currently in detention for extended periods without trial. Joynews' Anil Sabute files this report.
He lost his freedom, lost his business, and lost his wife. His only son also ended up a school dropout, forced to become a church mate here in Accra.
Papa is going to be your 50. Living your 50. No, I fit to more. Military, I'm going to know be in few. Emmanuel, if you're not going to 50, I can papa wall if you feel. No, I'm going to Jimmy. No, when you mean, if you feel me, can slam papa can be. Yes, like can be. When you mean, I can only the flash walk a kiss me backward. Remember, you mean commit to it for. When they feel like any. Oh, papa, I'm been a long time. I can see your egg banner. When they feel like we can make any
That's the story of 46-year-old Francis Ajari, who was unlawfully detained for 14 years at Insawam prison for his alleged involvement in a robbery incident. Francis Ajari was released unconditionally in 2008 under the Justice for All program and afterwards started proceedings to be compensated by the state. The court granted him 200,000 Ghana cedis. His lawyer, Francis Xavier Susu, told Joy News, although the awarded compensation was disappointing, he was happy for the victory.
But today gives me hope that Ghana is not just a jungle of people, but Ghana is a land of laws, that when people's life or people's liberty are unjustifiably taken away, there is some hope for them. And I believe that this should send a big warning to the whole, state, particularly state actors, to know that whatever they are doing is being watched. You cannot just arrest somebody and put him in detention for over 14 years without trial. A person who is barely 46 years is looking like 90 just because he has been put in this remand cells.
Time now to get you updated in the world of business, of course, with me, Abigail Adomakoinchi. Now, civil society organization Third World Network says the fall in gold prices is not significant enough to warrant the recent massive layoffs in the mining sector. The organization is asking government to ensure there is a multifaceted regulatory regime to govern the sector and ensure the economy accrues the revenues due it and not succumb to the pressures of the mining companies.
The recent fall in gold prices has been the bane for which about 3,080 mining workers have been laid off out of the 28,000 workers in the sector. But for the Third World Network, the move is uncalled for as the mining companies continue to either make profits or losses when prices of gold goes up or decline.
You then have a relative drop in price to around 1,300, and then suddenly everybody starts crying that, you know, the bottom is falling out of the world. It's very difficult to believe. What it shows, in my view, is that the companies have a cold focus on their benefits and very, very minimal commitment to this country. Our government, and it's not only the Ghanaian government in Africa, make the mistake of having lax regimes. When prices go up and the companies are making huge profits, they start scrambling after them. A small drop and the companies say, you see, prices are dropping. This instrument is not applicable. It's about having a multifaceted, rigorous regime which you apply flexibly so at any point in time you are getting the best fiscal return.
The organization therefore brought together stakeholders in the industry to discuss the consequences of the falling gold prices and Ghana's dependence on minerals. For the Ghana Mine Workers Union, the massive job losses only come to aggravate the illegal mining government is battling with.
These job losses further swell up the already precarious unemployment situation Ghana is battling with and its attendant social cost. The gloomy picture is that some of these redundant mine workers join in the galamsey activities with their experiences and competencies from working with some of the companies in the mining industry.
He also called for a comprehensive infrastructure growth agenda for deprived mining communities. For a country that relies more on mineral raw materials, the contribution of its benefits to the economy, according to the Minerals Commission, is slim.
There's quite a bit of dependence on it. But with the recent decline last year, it had telling effects on us. So you can imagine if that's all we depended on. So that's why it's good to diversify into other sectors as well. The industrial sector, the service sector, and so on. But even within the mining sector, to diversify the number of minerals we depend on as well. So those are very important things.
Stakeholders are meanwhile calling for transfer pricing regulations for the sector to ensure leakages are sealed and the economy fully reaps the benefits of the industry.
To some other news on investment, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, in the phase of declining foreign direct investments, is looking at strategic initiatives and branding to make Ghana a globally competitive destination for investments. GIPC Chief Executive Emmanuel explains Ghana needs investments with tangible results which will translate into development.
Foreign direct investment into Ghana's economy, according to the Ghana Investments Promotion Center GIPC, declined significantly last year. The figure came down by 19% to $3.9 billion in 2013 compared to almost $5 billion recorded in 2012. For the GIPC, Ghana must be strategically positioned to attract more FDIs.
Quite frankly, Ghana is in a very different place now. We're progressing to upper middle income status. That means that certain types of interventions from international institutions will no longer apply to us. So we really need to become extremely competitive, extremely smart about how we showcase, first of all, the sort of image we want of this country as a destination of choice, the kinds of experiences that we're creating for investors, both domestic and international, because the domestic investor is as great an ambassador as the Investment Promotion Center itself. And obviously the sorts of tangible results that investors can see. If they're not profitable, then we have not been successful. But at the same time, if the investment doesn't translate into development, then we're also still not successful. And so it's an important time for us to take a look at our competitive advantages.
Many businesses have argued the current directives from the central bank are not market friendly and will hurt investment. But Marina Trevor agrees somewhat, explaining that the regulators should have openly communicated their intentions with the private sector.
What we have tried to do as an investment promotion center is to facilitate continued conversations. We have quarterly CEOs breakfast meetings, and the very last one we had recently was exactly about the Bank of Ghana directives. I think that in the course of the conversations it became abundantly clear to many of the private sector players that there is a reason to have to institute those directives in support of stabilizing the economy. And so I think from our perspective, ensuring that there's open communication and clear awareness from the private sector to the officials who make the decisions on each of these directives, whether it be Parliament, whether it be the Bank of Ghana institutions, whether ourselves as GIPC, it's our responsibility to ensure that the private sector feels like it can engage directly with decision makers, with policy makers.
Meanwhile, the GIPC, in partnership with the Parliamentary Select Committee on Trade, Industry and Tourism, engaged businesses, particularly in the private sector, on the impact of the GIPC Act 865 Act 2013 on the activities.
After the law has been passed, the regulation will give teeth to the law to be able to bite. And so that will clarify what you hear people asking, is it 5 years, is it 3 years, is it this? The regulations will come. So the committee is now well equipped through the information that we are getting. And so when eventually the regulations are brought to us, we would be able to enrich, study those that we think have to be included to address the concerns that the investors are bringing up.
The GIPC also maintains it is ready to enforce the legislation and make it appealing to investors by showing how supportive it is for investors.
And that's all for business. There's more news ahead. Do stay on.
In the world of sports, and the Ghana Football Association has placed an indefinite ban on the Bordia Park in the Western region following the assault on late referee Kwame Ando, who passed on days later. The decision was arrived after an executive committee meeting with the Western Regional Football Association this afternoon.
The Ghana FA has banned the Bordia Park, where referee Kwame Ando is said to have suffered physical assault, leading to his death days later. The Class 3 referee suffered severe beatings while officiating as an assistant in the third-tier league match between Gold Stars and Najo United. Referee Ando died days later and will be buried this weekend in Prestia. The Ghana FA, in its initial findings, after meeting with executive members of the Western Regional Football Association, have decided to ban the Bordia Park, home of Gold Stars, indefinitely. The Ghana FA has also referred the matter to the police while waiting for the final autopsy report of the deceased before taking further actions. Ghana FA spokesperson Ibrahim Sani Dara, in a briefing this afternoon, also revealed plans to foot part of the costs of the funeral of referee Che Ando, while hinting at further sanctions.
Deputy Sports Minister Joseph Yemen has told Joy Sports the planning committee for this year's Commonwealth Games is talking Benunu Mensah out of his decision to quit as chef de maison of Team Ghana. Benunu Mensah doubles as the treasurer of the Ghana Olympic Committee and tendered in his resignation letter on Monday, citing personal reasons. But Joseph Yemen, who doubles as the head of the 25-member planning committee, says they're working hard to have him back at post.
I received a shocking letter, that is the resignation of Benunu Mensah as the chef de mission. It wasn't a pleasant news. I mean, looking at the time and what is involved. I spoke to Benunu Mensah this morning as well to get his side of the story. The assurance is that the GOC will be meeting to take a decision on the resignation of Benunu Mensah, and so we are awaiting the outcome of that meeting. We'll also make a statement on that. But I think that he has raised issues, and the issues I believe are issues that can be resolved. Well, I won't be able to also put it out here because I'll be preempting whatever he has, but I'll be glad if this decision can be reversed.
Right, now we can talk about the latest rankings that have been released, talk about the FIFA ranking. Ghana has moved 2 places up. Well, we initially at 38, we're now up there in 35, and that is good for Ghana at the moment. We can now look at what's happening in terms of the ranking there. So important, Ghana out there. Let's quickly look at who are currently at the top of that particular ranking. We know Spain have been there for some time. It doesn't look like they're leaving it. We have Germany, we have Argentina, Portugal, Colombia. It'll be interesting to find out where the African countries find themselves. Currently, Ivory Coast are top in Africa because they're currently 24th in the world. And there you have it. Ivory Coast, Algeria, Egypt in that order. And of course, you have Ghana coming in it. So this is what it's looking like ahead of the World Cup. Ghana, 35th actually on that particular ranking, so very interesting ahead of the World Cup. But we all know that rankings don't really mean anything when it comes to football. It's about what you do there. Let's just find out what happens. That'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Adi Jr. Israel will join us with some more. You have a good night.
Sports was brought to you in association. The arrival of dancehall music seems to be going very well as more female up-and-coming musicians are getting on board. The latest arrival is Eno.
Call her a dreamer, but Eno says she is the best female rapper here in Ghana and is yet to meet any female rapper who is as good as herself. She shares with us her difficulties as an upcoming act.
It's not easy. You know, in Ghana, they don't really recognize the females, especially with the rappers. When you go outside the country, they have awards for best female rappers and all that. In Ghana, we don't have that. And so even if you are like just doing it, you do not feel motivated or something.
But that would not stop her.
For me, I think this is what I want to do. And I mean, I've not seen any female rap like me. I don't know if somebody's there, but I've not seen anybody do it like me because I'm targeting the guys. So I think so far I'm just doing what I want to do and what makes me feel like I'm the best. So yeah.
Meanwhile, she has urged all upcoming artists to hold on to their dreams and make it happen.
The entertainment industry woke up to a shocking news Thursday morning as the news poured in that manager of controversial hip life artist Kwakese Fenekotri has been murdered by some unknown assailants. This incident occurred at his Manette Gardens residence on the Spintex Road, Accra.
Several personalities, including Kwakese, the artist Fenek managed until his death, and the MP for Ablekuma West, Ursula Owusu, visited the late manager's residence. Kwakese, upon entering the house and seeing his dead manager, broke down in tears. Radio personality Abeku Santana, who is a friend to the deceased, says the killers entered the house by jumping over the back wall during a blackout at about 11 p.m., cutting the security wires on the wall and making their way into the house. The police say they have opened investigations into the matter.
The headquarters crime scene was invited together with the homicide squad. They have done the necessary investigations and the scene is being preserved at the moment. The body has been removed to Kolebu Teaching Hospital for further investigation. That is autopsy to determine what actually caused the death.
He left behind a wife and a year-old son. Our heart goes out to the family and friends of the late Fenekotri.
And may he rest in peace. That's it for showbiz. And coming up on PM Express tonight, it looks quite, Nana and Sokwa looks at ways to reduce maternal and child mortality in deprived areas. That's coming up in PM Express right after the bulletin. Now, to end the bulletin, we bring a recap of our top stories. One person has been found dead, whilst another has been rescued in an uncompleted building collapse here in Accra. The 2012 New Patriotic Party presidential candidate insists on delaying announcement of his 2016 political ambitions until next week. The Media Foundation for West Africa has launched an initiative to monitor media practitioners' adherence to ethics in the face of what it describes as falling journalism standards. Experts predict gloom for the country's water resources if radical steps are not taken to stop the destruction of water bodies. The Human Rights Court orders 200,000 Ghana cedis compensation for man illegally held on remand for 14 years. That's all for the bulletin. My name is Delali. Have a good evening.